welcome to your first One show of the week, live on BBC One and iPlayer with Jermaine Genus.
And Sam Quick. Welcome back, Sam.
Thanks for having me back.
Of course we was going to have you
Thanks,
back.
mate, I appreciate that.
Yeah, you've done a great job.
Cheers. Hopefully I'll do another good job tonight.
You'll be fine. But first of all, we've got to give a big shout out to all of those who took part, by the way, in the London Marathon yesterday. Especially the amazing group of men who we saw on the show on Friday, the ever-presents who've been part of every marathon since it began. And if you're nursing those horrible blisters today, get your feet up. We've got a lovely show for you tonight.
Yeah, we do. We'll be going beneath the surface for one of our films. It's an underwater escape room and it's located in a quarry. We'll be following some of the brave people trying to do that one. But I can't speak, Jermaine, because I'm very excited about this. I'm a big fan of escape rooms.
What? Escape room?
Yeah.
I've never heard of an escape room. It looks good. We'll talk about it later, though, because I need to know more about that.
I'll look at it.
Looks like a load of fun. Also today, the NHS is launching an urgent appeal for more blood plasma donors. We've been to meet some of the children, including 3 brothers whose lives depend on them, and we'll be talking about how you can become a donor yourself later.
And to our guests tonight, one of them is an adventurer, Ben Fogle, who is heading back to the islands that launched his career 21 years ago in Castaway. Yes, for his new TV show, he's journeyed to Scotland to visit 20 of its most beautiful isles, sharing with us what makes them so special. And get ready for some stunning shots of those islands.
There's no way you'd believe that was in Scotland, would you? That was absolutely gorgeous. And last night, it kicked off. Millions of you tuned in to watch the new BBC drama, Ridley Road. It was absolutely brilliant. So we are very excited to welcome 2 of its stars, Tracy Ann Oberman and Agnes O'Casey.
Welcome both, thanks for joining us. But Agnes, I'm going to come to you first. This is your first TV appearance, and I do believe that your mum was meant to be hosting a watch party, but after last night's drama obviously being on the TV, they're a little bit worse for wear.
They burnt a candle at both ends, yeah.
A bit more low-key
tonight for their watching.
So you've got to say hi to them, and really behave tonight.
Big fan of that, big fan. Well done. Agnes, is it true that your dad's actually set up a Google alert now, because he's just so proud of you. He's just got to see all the news.
The alerts on, yeah. Aggie, O'Casey, Kennig, Agnes. Yeah, so sweet.
Very sweet.
All of you pinging off now because obviously you're live on the telly. Tracy Ann, thanks for joining us. You've been really busy, haven't you, with your West End production, The Winter's Endgame, a new stage version of the Channel 4 comedy.
Yes, I'm playing Camilla Parker Bowles opposite Harry Enfield, and it's been a right hoot, actually. Because it's the first show that really went back into the theatre. We're on where Book of Mormon was, so that feels pretty epic.
But is it true?
Yes.
That Prince Charles gives you a lift on the back of his scooter every day to work?
Nearly every day, although he bumped me recently for Jenny, who plays Bart for us. Yeah, I go in on the back of Harry Charles's bike every single night.
Wow.
And sometimes home. And I thought we look really like super glamorous, but the writer said we look like George and Mildred. You're too young to remember them. But I do.
Well, as always, if you want to get in touch, you can do so via Twitter, Instagram, Facebook or email.
First though, today it's been reported that a serving police officer has been charged with rape. He was in court earlier today where he pleaded not guilty. Now he's been remanded in custody to wait for a trial.
But it comes after another Met officer, Wayne Couzens, was handed a life sentence last week for the rape and murder of Sarah Everard, where he used his police warrant card to falsely detain Sarah.
So how much has this dented trust in the police in general, and what you think they need to do to rebuild it? Reziga Jar has been to find out.
Has your opinion of the police recently been affected after reports of officers being charged of a crime?
Not really, no. I mean, you get good ones, you get bad ones.
I'm not really happy about the way they've handled it, and I'm not really happy about the way they've investigated it, to tell you the truth. If there's one, there's more than one, so something needs to be done.
I believe that everyone's individual and not like a whole police department should be blamed. I feel perfectly safe around them and everyone's just trying to do their job. There's a few bad eggs out there always is.
There's a bad doctor out of 100, there's a bad police officer out of 100, there's a bad person out of 100, but most of us, I think, most of the police officers are okay, I would think.
They're the people you're supposed to be able to trust. I mean, in the old days I could trust a policeman, but now I think twice.
So what do the police need to do for you to be able to trust them again?
Well, if they're out in pairs more, might feel a bit more safe and comfortable too. Like, be approached by them or approach them.
Back in my day, sweetheart, we used to have police walking around all the time. And if you had a problem, you used to pull you by your ears and take you to your parents, and they used to sort it out. None of that's there no more.
Showing the public maybe how their training goes and what they're encouraging and what values they are like within that, and maybe that will reassure everyone.
More female staff, to be honest. Yeah.
Why do you think that?
Because there's a lot of people don't trust the male officers, and so they're probably more likely to talk to a female officer, including men.
I think the police and the justice system has got to make sure that they catch and prosecute more men who attack and harass women.
Do you feel like you've changed your habits recently?
Yeah, I have. I always have my phone. Make sure wherever I'm walking, there are other people about.
As a parent, I've changed my behaviour. I ring them, I want to know where they are when they're walking home or who they're with.
It has made me more vigilant to be around, anyone. So whether it's authority, I just will be more cautious.
Yeah, thanks, Rosie. Lots of different views there, and also thank you to everyone who shared their opinions in that video.
And just a couple of hours ago, the Met Police announced that there will be an independent review into standards and culture in the force. And I think we'll be talking a lot more about this, Jermaine, in the coming weeks.
Definitely feels like it. Definitely feels like it.
Okay, well, the brilliant new drama Ridley Road started last night on BBC One, taking over from the slot that Vigil was in, and I do have to say, I'm already glued.
Looks good, doesn't it? Looks good. Well, millions tuned in, but for those of you that missed it, it tells the story of a young Jewish hairdresser from Manchester in the late 60s. She joins an underground movement trying to stop the rise of a neo-Nazi group. Let's have a look.
I'm looking for Jack Morris.
He's got important work to do. Taking power up and down the country. I told you to stay away. Are you anti-fascist? Why not? An anti-fascist fight.
So, get it done. Get out. We've got to get ahead of them, Vivian.
You're frightened. Caught in the middle of a fascist march. Are you?
We have to act now.
I know what you are. We don't think.
And we're joined now by two stars of the show, Agnes O'Casey and Tracy Ann Obermer. As I say, I was already glued, but Agnes, you play Vivian, the main character. I mean, this is your first on-screen role, isn't it? BBC prime time drama. I mean, what's the secret to literally going straight into the success?
Just good timing and luck, I think. Do you
No,
know?
I'm not.
I really believe that.
Just landed in like the top BBC.
Do you know what though? Because it was over lockdown, I auditioned just via Zoom on my laptop, and I actually think that helped me rather than like going into a scary building and sort of getting intimidated. I was just most
I would have thought that would have been harder over Zoom, over the screen.
I think
Must have impressed.
Well, I must have amazingly, but I just loved it so much. I think it's the right job at the right time. I think sometimes that's just the case.
Perfect marriage.
Yeah.
And you play alongside you, Tracy Ann, of course. And tell us a little bit about the story. I mean, it's based on a book, a fictional book, but actually some of the things that happen in the drama are based on true life.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely, at a time when Britain is reanalyzing its history with colonialism and slavery, it's time that Britain looks at its relationship with fascism. This was set in 1962 with the rise of Colin Jordan, who was an acolyte of Oswald Mosley, huge rise of fascism, and Nazi kind of acolytes who had it in for Jewish people. And they tried to make people feel that Jews were the enemy that was taking something away from the ordinary British person. And so Colin Jordan and his fascists rose on the streets of Britain and were setting fire to synagogues, were trying to kill as many Jews as they could, burning down their houses. And so the 62 group was set up by these Jewish vigilantes because the police weren't helping them. And so this tells the story of how Eddie Marzan, who plays my husband, and Nancy were a huge part of this vigilante fight force, and young Vivian comes down and gets embroiled in it.
Yeah, this drama, Tracy, and actually has certain parallels with what happened to something with your own family, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, today, and thank you so much for having us on here, because not only it's the anniversary, the 85th anniversary of the Battle of Cable Street, and fascism in this country was Oswald Mosley, who was a great friend of Hitler's, got married when Hitler was a witness. decided to attack the Jewish entity. And they decided to attack the Jews in the East End by marching with all his fascists, these angry fascists, and wanted to march into the East End where my great-grandparents and my grandparents and all my uncles and aunts were living. And unbelievably, he thought he was going to get mass support from the working class community, but everybody stood with their Jewish neighbours and they wouldn't let them pass. So my great-grandfather, my great-uncle, Alf, was pushed through a plate glass window by the black shirts, who were Moses followers, and my grandma was throwing marbles onto their shoes so they couldn't pass, and the dockers stood with them, and every single working class community stood with their Jewish neighbours and stopped that fascist group from passing. It's an amazing bit of history that we mustn't forget.
Yeah, and the drama touches upon that history, and obviously you've just mentioned there the Battle of Cable Street was the 30s, the drama's the 60s.
Yeah.
I mean, what about those themes today? They're still relevant, aren't they?
You only have to look in Charlottesville when they were marching in America saying blacks will not replace us, Jews will not replace us, immigrants will not replace us. At a time of insecurity, economically and otherwise, you get extremes of politics, both right and left. And unfortunately for Jewish people, we do get caught in the pincer. But as somebody very wise once said, a society that tolerates anti-Semitism, Jewish hate, all other sickness will follow. And, you know, we are living in a time of extremism, and it's important where people want to blame somebody else for something that they haven't got. And so we have to be vigilant. And I hope that this show really shows that and highlights that. Awesome. And Aggie's such an amazing figurehead for it.
Well, it's incredible, like you say, the parallels with this drama in your family past. But Agnes, you also have a little bit of a parallel with the show as well, because your grandmother, didn't she have a bit of a history on Ridley?
She went dancing,
yeah.
Very big gear change. Yeah, she did. She went to a dance. Yeah, I think that's where her and my granddad used to go.
How did you find that out?
Well, when I got the job, you know, my mum called me and was like, did you know your grandma went dancing on Ridley Road? And, you know, like, I just think, you know, everyone was just going crazy talking about it. So
what a coincidence there.
Yeah, it's lovely. Well, you know, my family lived in London. We're a London family, so...
But
nice connection to the drama.
Your theatrical royalty was Shauna Casey's granddaughter, but you've also got this Jewish strand as well, so...
Yeah, that sort of classic British experience of having so many different intersections. I just want to say that on what Tracy said, that idea, I think that Ridley Road does really do that. You see these people, it doesn't judge so many people, like Nettie, Reece Tushingham's character. She's being displaced, and that's where she's kind of brought into this anti-Semitism.
Yeah, because of the rehousing after the war. People were going, why is my... And also, do you remember the thing with the local shops? You know, there's these Jews are opening a thing called Tesco's, and they're displacing us. These Jews are getting the better housing, they're getting the better market stalls.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but...
No, it is fantastic, and I think going forward as well, it serves a really good message
It's
as well.
sexy and it's exciting.
It is. As well. I'm political, you both are. You can watch the second episode of Ridley Road on BBC One at 9 o'clock on Sunday night. And if you can't wait till then, you can watch all the episodes now on iPlayer.
That's right. And still to come, we're going to be talking to Ben Fogle about his journey to the Scotland Sacred Islands.
But first, thousands of patients across the UK rely on blood plasma donations, described as liquid gold. It's used in medicines for people who have compromised immune systems.
It saves thousands of lives a year, but today NHS England is launching an urgent appeal for more donors, and we're going to meet some of the families that have been affected.
It's Saturday morning, and this NHS centre in Chelmsford is busy with donors.
For this first cycle, it takes about 5 minutes.
But it's not blood that's being collected here. These people are donating a substance found within their blood called plasma. This liquid contains antibodies, which our bodies use to fight infections. And for the 17,000 people in the UK with compromised immune systems, plasma donations can be vital to keep them alive. Tamar Henry and her sons, Jewel, Sam and Zaid, live in Bedfordshire. The boys look healthy and happy, but they were all very sick as small children.
Both Jewel and Sam were quite unwell, had serious infections when they were younger. Despite the number of infections they were getting, we still weren't getting a diagnosis. Imagine being a parent and your kid's constantly sick, and you don't know why.
The brothers were eventually diagnosed with a rare genetic condition known as XLA, which mainly affects boys.
What that means is that the boys don't have the antibodies to fight off infection, so they're more vulnerable, they're more susceptible. It's quite frightening, really.
Blood plasma can help boys like the Henry brothers. It's a rich source of the antibodies they need to fight off diseases. All three boys now have regular infusions of plasma medicine. Every week, Jewel has his at home, whilst the younger two travel to hospital once a month, where it takes 4 hours per infusion.
Primary immune deficiency diseases are generally genetic diseases, which means that the patient is unable to produce enough of their own antibodies. So even a simple cold can be really critical for these patients, and it can be the difference between life and death if they don't get the treatment they need.
But the donation centres can't keep up with the demand. Since the 90s, plasma has come from abroad. But the pandemic put these supplies under pressure, and there is now a desperate need for new donors here in the UK.
We need another 30,000 donors in the next 6 months alone in order to be able to meet this demand.
Earlier this year, 29-year-old Curtis Apthorpe was inspired to become a plasma donor after life-saving infusions were given to his son, Sebastian, who became seriously ill when he was just a few months old.
Because of Sebastian's need for plasma, it's the easiest decision of my life. It was really, really simple, and to think that you could save someone's life, like people have saved Sebastian's, just from maybe an hour in a donor centre, it really is something quite special.
Tests have revealed that Sebastian has virtually no immune system at all. Before he began receiving plasma, the family shut themselves away.
We were just terrified that he would become unwell again.
But Sebastian's regular plasma infusions have transformed his life.
What's great is that most of the population is actually walking around with medicine in their body. And by coming to donate your plasma, it enables us to make life-saving medicines that can give the real boost into the immune system of patients.
It gave us hope for the future. It meant that we could step out into the big wide world again with confidence, knowing that he had some safety.
When I talk to donors, the difference that they can make to people's lives is so rewarding.
Donating plasma is similar to donating blood, but when we give blood, our bodies need time to recover. With plasma donation, our bodies replenish it very quickly, meaning we can donate more frequently.
I'm so grateful to everyone who donates. It's been life-changing for us.
It gives us that insurance to lead a normal life. Like, I feel like I'm not waiting for something to happen anymore. I'm not so nervous of every cough or every time they fall over. I don't feel that anymore.
The plasma really helps me. Unless I told my friends that I had an immune deficiency, they wouldn't know, because I'm living life to the fullest and I'm thriving.
It's such an important issue that I didn't realise how easy it seemed as well. For me personally, after having seen that, definitely something I think I'll get involved in.
Yeah, definitely. We can actually find out more information now because we're joined by someone who can help. Jane Williams is head of plasma donor recruitment from NHS Blood and Transplant. Welcome to the show, Jane. Thanks for joining us. A lot of people watching will be wondering how they can donate, and JJ as well. So what advice would you give them?
Well, you need to be generally fit and well, and aged between 17 and 66 years, and have enough blood volume to donate. And you can check out whether you have got enough blood volume by going to our website and going through the criteria. And then you need to have at least an hour to 2 hours of your time to come in and donate at one of our plasma centres. We've got 11 centres across the country, scattered from the north, the Midlands and the south, and there's a Stratford Donor Centre in London. So it's pretty easy, but as I say, you do need a couple of hours of your time to come along and donate.
And Jane, what is obviously kind of giving blood, people would feel tired afterwards, so they might not be able to do it like on their work break or just before they go and do something, but this is different giving plasma. It doesn't have the same impact on your body, does it?
It doesn't have the same impact, but it does take longer to donate plasma than to donate blood. So you do need to, sort of schedule that into your day. But there's nothing specific that you need to do afterwards, other than it's really important when you're donating blood as well, actually, but really important to be hydrated before you give plasma and then after you give plasma. Obviously, that helps your body, recoup the plasma that we've taken, but it also helps your veins stay good and strong. But all of the information about any foods to avoid before you donate plasma, etc., you can find that all on our website. And if you can't find it on our website, you can call one of our call centre team and they will happily walk you through the criteria, book you in for an appointment, and then you can come and donate.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that, Jane. Yeah, it sounds simple, so I've done it. And I don't know about you, but I'm it is honestly something I'm thinking about getting involved in. When I saw that video, I was just a bit like, God, I didn't realise it was such a thing that would help so much.
Yeah, I've seen the
It seems
picture
so
there of
simple.
some of the pop-up shops.
Yeah.
It just looks so easy. They look like, I think some of them are in shopping centres.
Precisely, yeah.
They
Easy
just
to
take
do.
a few hours out of your day.
Easy to do.
But yeah, for more information, you can visit blood.co.uk/plasma or go to our website to find out more.
Yeah, still to come, we're going to be talking to Ben Fogle as he heads to the Scottish Islands for his latest TV series. But right now, up next, we're going to be talking about escape rooms. I need your help here.
You don't know what an escape room is, do you?
What's an escape room?
So it's quite simply a room that you have to escape from. And normally there's a
Yeah.
time limit. There's normally a time limit.
The clues in the words, but like...
Just making sure, you know.
I saw a guy diving in water at the start of the show.
Yeah, so to get out, to escape this room, Jermaine, you walk in and there's puzzles on the walls, riddles, different keys, different locks, different numbers, and you have to solve all these different things to get out the final door. But you have to do it in a process. You can't just find one puzzle and go to the very end. So it's very exciting. It's a bit of an adrenaline rush. It depends on how well you are. I think you'd probably take a bit longer.
Oh, thanks, man.
I'm joking.
Underwater, you've surely got a finite number of times to get out.
You haven't escaped. But we're going to find out more actually because you never know how it could go. There is the opportunity to do it underwater, just like Tracy Ann said. Miranda Krestofnikov has been to find out more.
Escape rooms, a series of puzzles designed to tease the brain and put teamwork to the test. But none are quite like the one I'm about to take part in.
This is the stunning Vivian Quarry in Llanberis, home to the world's first underwater escape experience.
It's the brainchild of diving instructors Leanne Clowes and Claire Dutton.
So I'm trying to imagine what an underwater escape experience actually involves. How does it work?
We actually use the entire quarry as part of the escape experience.
So you'll actually be going in, finding some things for clues, answering some questions, and using a lot of navigation, practicing those skills.
That was a long time ago, my diving navigation. And what if somebody panics underwater here, though? What happens?
At no point are you locked in anything under the water. You've got no overhead environment.
If they were kind of newly qualified divers, they've got the option to do it with instructors as well.
On any dive, it's vital to have what we call dive buddies to keep an eye on you underwater. My dive buddy and teammate for today is Rachel.
Have you ever done an escape room before, either on land or in water?
I've dived at the quarry here before,
Yeah.
years ago, but I've never done anything like this before, so it's all going to be new.
Right, I'm going to go and get kitted up and see you in the water.
Great, okay.
To take part in the escape room, you must have a recognised diving qualification. Also taking on the challenge today are Sam, who's a dive instructor, and Tom, who's only recently qualified.
I was supposed to do my open water originally in Tenerife, and I had sort of not really any intention of diving in the UK. However, having tried it, I'm absolutely hooked, I must say.
And Sam, you're used to sort of slightly warmer water than this?
Slightly
This is out of your
warmer
comfort
water.
zone, isn't
Yes,
it?
yeah. I've been stuck here because of COVID, but I've started diving in the UK and really, really enjoyed it, especially around North Wales.
Yeah.
It's just excellent.
It's time for our adventure to begin, and ours is a pirate-themed challenge. Arr!
Each item that you find has a riddle that you must then be solving.
And after meeting the captain, we literally immerse ourselves in the experience. We must complete an underwater treasure hunt, collecting items as we go.
My word, I see a pirate flag already.
The first location is a pirate shipwreck, and there's a riddle. I am usually shiny. In a jeweller's I am sold. I sometimes hold a pendant. I've a chain that's made of gold.
Skeleton, get out here. Look, so what about skeleton? Not a medallion.
I've had a lot of scuba experiences in my life, but I can safely say I've never wrestled a medallion from a fake skeleton before. On to the next question.
So I've got another clue.
Which ship did William Kidd captain? Is it A, Fancy, or B, Adventure Galley? We're going to go for Adventure Galley. This answer gives us a compass bearing which sends us in a certain direction. And we must have got it right as we've now discovered the next location. Each clue leads us deeper down into the murky waters of the 18-metre quarry. It's harder than it looks solving puzzles at this depth. But, working together, we complete the task and head back to the surface with our treasure and make our escape.
That was a bit bonkers, wasn't it?
It was brilliant.
I mean, it just gives a whole different perspective to a dive, doesn't it, really?
I love the navigation skills as well that we had to add in.
Not far behind us are Sam and Tom.
How was that?
Tropical.
You're lying.
Really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Challenge.
We did get a little bit lost, but I think we covered ourselves. Yeah, I would recommend it to anyone, absolutely.
That was a really great experience. It had all the fun and excitement of an escape rooms and also putting my diving skills to the test. Who needs tropical oceans when you've got treasure like that right here in the UK?
Thanks, Miranda. I mean, I would love to give that a go, but I think I'd have to learn how to dive first.
It looked nice though. I'll say that. I'm not sure quite up for it yet, but it did look lovely. Well, we've got to say a big thank you to Barbara Mould, by the way, for this lovely photo of Lismore Lighthouse on the island of Mull off the west coast of Scotland. Look at that, absolutely beautiful. And that actually sets the scene beautifully for our next chat, as we are now joined by Ben Fogle. Now, Ben, for your latest project, you've taken a trip down memory lane, haven't you, by returning to the Outer Hebrides. That's where you filmed the BBC series Castaway back in 2000. Is that place, still really special to you?
Oh, it changed everything. The year that I spent on that island in the Outer Hebrides transformed my whole life. I fell in love with nature. I learnt a lot about myself. And I fell in love with islands. The Outer Hebrides remain probably one of my favourite places on Earth. And to be able to return for the series Sacred Islands was incredibly special. It was just after lockdown. I think there was a real kind of therapy almost to the journey for me, certainly visiting all 20 of those islands.
And Ben, you really do love those islands, because actually you named your daughter after one of them, is that right?
I named her after an island I'd never been to, believe it or not. Having been to probably 150 or so islands around the world, I named her after the one island I'd never gone to, Iona. And I actually went during the series. It has a very powerful draw for people who go on pilgrimages from all over the world. And fortunately, it kind of met my hopes and aspirations. It's a very, very special place. You can see it there, actually. I spent a couple of days there, and it was truly magical.
It looks like a nice little hideaway, that, actually, Ben. So what else can we expect from the new series?
Well, the series is slightly different. I wanted it to be a bit different to the usual travelogue. So we explore the islands from the context of faith and spirituality and community, trying to understand why it is that people go there for escapism. I've visited many people who have moved to the islands, but also trying to understand what island life means to those who have lived there for many generations, whether they be crofters or fishermen, or whether they are producing tweeds up on Harris. And I found it a really interesting way to get to know the islands. I saw them from a very different perspective. They often, many people up in the Hebrides talk about it being a thin place where you're closer to something. Now, whether that be God, if you have a kind of a strong religious pull, or maybe it's just that you're closer to nature itself, flora and fauna. For me, it's always been a great therapy. It's sort of been my place to go to heal mentally and physically, and I think the islands have been a draw for people for hundreds of years in the same context.
And Ben, you mentioned people go there to find escapism and have breaks away, but also people have moved there permanently. And probably more than ever, people are thinking about leaving the city and moving to the countryside. But there must be challenges to go from somewhere quite busy and where everything's very easily accessible to somewhere where actually it's pretty quiet, there's not much about. What challenges are there?
Well, do you know what? The strange thing is, I actually struggled more after I spent that year living in the Hebrides for Castaway all those years ago. I struggled more going back to England, back to London, and re-immersing in kind of to reality. And actually, I think a lot of people find it an easier move to go from city life, if that's where they're moving from, to a rural place. I think the lockdown has shown us all that we can live a different way. For me, island life is one of resourcefulness. It's one of kind of a much tighter community. It's a very happy way of living. It doesn't mean it's easy. And of course, there are compromises you have to make. But for me, the Western Isles of Scotland, and actually we also went up to Shetland, so I mustn't forget to mention the Shetland Islands, are extraordinary places where you can find great happiness.
Ben, on the show you actually talk about one particular beach in the Outer Hebrides being your favourite place on earth. Where is it?
Oh, Jermaine, honestly, it gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. It's on an island. I shouldn't really be giving it away now because it'd be inundated with people, but fortunately the isolation, there it is. It's called West Beach and it's on Berneray. And for me, it ticks every box that I look for in a kind of a wilderness. It's wild, it's rugged, it's isolated, it's unbelievably beautiful. The turquoise waters, the white sand. And for me, the islands, I think one of the conclusions, don't want to give away the whole series, but an island is almost a mirror to what you want it to be. And a lot of people go to these islands to seek a form of therapy. I think a lot of people are suffering mental health problems right now. And for me, going to those islands, especially after the 18 months that we've had, I found it incredibly therapeutic. And that beach, walking up and down it, changed me beyond anything.
It's the kind of place that centres you, I think. What's your favourite place, Sam?
I think if I went there, it'd probably be there. But this sounds not terrible, but I'm actually being serious. Anfield on a European night, when it's a knockout European game, gives you goosebumps, that, Jay.
Well, I've been on the receiving end of not such a nice time at Anfield, so I can't say the same thing. But actually, speaking of Anfield, Ben, I've heard, and this came out of absolutely nowhere, by the way, baffled me, but you've been advising Liverpool manager Jurgen Klopp about how his players can stay mentally agile, apparently. I mean, how did this come about?
It's pretty random, isn't it? Do you know what? Jurgen got in touch with me. We had a mutual friend, and I'm actually touring right now. If anyone sees a big picture of me behind me, I'm not in my house. I'm not that big. And someone had come along to hear my show, which is all about how I have kind of tried to silence that inner voice of doubt that we all have, and I've had it ever since I was a child, that voice that goads you that you're going to fail, that you're not going to win. And so I went out to their summer camp actually in Evian for a couple of days, and it was amazing because I confessed to Jurgen at the beginning that I know nothing about football. I'm hopeless at football. I don't even particularly enjoy football. But do you know what, Jermaine? It changed my whole perspective. It changed my whole perspective on footballers and football. The skill, the art, the dedication, the teamwork that went into it. And what I tried to do was just bring some of my own experiences of the bigger expeditions that I've done, not necessarily going to the Outer Hebrides, but climbing Everest or rowing across the Atlantic, and I tried to contextualize them in this sort of multi-mountain climb that footballers have throughout the season, 30-odd games. You win one, but then you're back onto the hamster wheel.
That is very true, Ben. That is very, very true. But we're looking forward to the show. Thanks for talking to us as well. Scotland's Sacred Island with Ben Fogle begins on BBC One on Sunday morning at 11:30 and BBC Scotland tomorrow at 8 p.m. I'm going to give you just one quick comment here. It says, it's from Steve on Twitter, I binged Ridley Road last night. Really good drama. Tracy Ann was absolutely brilliant, and so was everyone else, mine, as well. Okay. So a lot of love online for Ridley Road, so well done.
Thank you.
Well, that's it for today.
Thanks very much for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow and joined by Michelle Keegan and Alexander Armstrong. We'll both see you then.